Hello and welcome to the Gale Force Studios. I'm your host, Ronnie West, and we are here on a Friday. It's a little bit before rush hour, so we wanted to get you some high traffic ideas before you have to deal with some high traffic out in rush hour. I hope you've had a productive week. I certainly have. It's been one of those where just one thing after another, and then boom, it's already Friday. So I hope you guys have a pleasant weekend ahead planned. And today I kind of wanted to talk about SEO. I've gotten lots of questions over the last couple of weeks. And I think it's something that a lot of people know the term SEO, like they throw it around, but they don't actually understand what it is. I think I mentioned last week when we're looking at the Google organic search results. That is where your SEO kind of comes into play, that a lot of people kind of understand and see it. And that's just what they assume happens when somebody just says SEO, that they're automatically going to get it. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of do today was kind of give a better understanding of, if you own a website, if you are currently managing one, or if you have access to a website, especially a WordPress site. I have dealt with Squarespace in the past, and there's definitely some spots that you can kind of go in and tweak a few different things. But I would say the majority, 80–90% of the websites that we currently use are all on WordPress. And so this is a great way to have a better understanding of what SEO is. Like people, like I said, we throw it around and you hear it all the time, but it's not actually something that, if you're in the website, to fully understand what the SEO is. And so I want to give you a better understanding as far as what the SEO can do for your website, and how Google actually sees your pages, your blog posts, and anything that's kind of on your website. It's giving grades. And you have to remember that Google is an AI, constantly sending bots through to read your website to kind of check things. Is this something that's relevant to somebody that's searching? And these are kind of what I'm going to lay out, are going to be kind of the trigger points that Google looks for when it's scanning your website and having an understanding. We've talked about it before, whether it's meta description, hashtags, I shouldn't say hashtags, tags that are on your website, the SEO title, your slug. And I know you may hear a lot of those things and it might go over your head. That's why I want to kind of educate you and give you a better understanding of exactly what we're talking about when we're explaining these things. Because even with clients that they seem to understand and know, they're not fully checking their website. And this is something that you could do for free that's going to be an incredible ROI if you go through and put the time in and do it. Otherwise, you can contact a company like ours, iMagnet, where we can kind of go in, do SEO refreshes, kind of check over these pages and make sure. If you are looking for like a website audit, we can definitely provide you that, and that will kind of give you a better understanding of if Google is seeing these pages and fully understanding that this page means this. And so I'm going to kind of go over a few things that I have kind of talked to a few of my clients over the last week. And it just seems to be a reoccurring question and stuff that people don't understand, even though we've heard SEO for years. Hopefully this gives you a better understanding of what we're talking about. So let's get into it. Before I do, I want to mention, again, this is brought to you by Gale Force Studios. We are a podcast network. So if you are looking to start your own podcast, it is a great way to kind of get content for your social media, for your blogs, and anything that kind of can help you get more content out there. Doing a 20-minute, half an hour kind of podcast and cutting that up in the clips will save you an incredible amount of time. So if you're interested in getting a podcast set up for your business or for your shop, whatever it might be, make sure to reach out. I will leave my contact information in the description. So if you do have questions, please make sure to reach out to Gale Force Studios. We've run Second Lap, Bucket Bros. There's a lot of different podcasts that we've been a part of and can distribute for you, and also give you the tips as far as doing the clipping and posting on your social media. In any case, let's get into it and let's get a full understanding of what SEO is. So I'm going to bring up, this is one I wrote last week, and it kind of goes over just like the 1-star review. If you've seen some of my posts recently or attended the CoolView conference, this was one of the big things that I kind of touched on and wanted to make sure that people understood. So this is, let me get my screens all set up here. So this is what people see. So essentially, when we talk about the front end or the back end of a website, this is the front end. So this is essentially, this is the .com. This is imagnet.com/blog/1-star reviews marketing tool. So this, again, you can kind of see there's the video of me at the conference, as well as kind of the blog content. There is a link that's here. That's important later. And it just kind of gives you all of the information within the blog. And so we'll start, obviously, here's a 1-star picture review. So when I talk about going into the back end of the website, so when you go in the WordPress, you can see the stuff up here. We use Rank Math SEO. There is also Yoast. Both of them are high quality SEO trackers. You can also install a Google Site Kit. That will also help kind of review the different pages, let you know if there's any issues you need to address. And like I mentioned, we also use like a site audit where it can go in, and it's essentially the same thing as the Site Kit. It gives us information as far as, hey, this page doesn't have the correct link. It doesn't have H1 heading. It needs an image. And so these are all the different things that kind of come into play when you're creating, whether it's blogs or setting up your page to be properly SEO'd. And so I'm going to kind of go through a blog post and show you all the different pieces. This is the exact same thing that we would do to pages when we do an SEO refresh. So that's one of the things that we do. It's a one-time fee. Reach out if you have questions about that. So let's jump into the back end of the website. So right now, oops, let me zoom this out a little bit. You can see on the side, there's all of the different kind of pieces, plugins, and different items that you can kind of add to your website. What we're looking at is the posts. And so if you were going to go in and check your service pages, your home page, your contact form, that would all be on pages. We're going to look at the blog posts. So the first thing that I think jumps out is the green buttons that are over here on the side. And that's essentially, to me, it's like a green light, yellow light, red light. And you can see here down, I've got a 76. It's also kind of grades. Essentially 80 and above is going to be a green. I believe it's about a 70 to 65 to 70 is typically going to be in that yellow, and below that it'll be red. And so those are kind of your grading system as far as the quality that Google is seeing this at. And again, we are using Rank Math SEO. Yoast does a very similar thing. We just prefer Rank Math because it has a few extra added features that help us kind of fully understand and tweak a few different things. Both of these have AI plugins. And so you'll see that when I get ahead here and start talking about the different aspects of changing whether it's the SEO title or the meta description, there's always some few tweaks to make sure that it gets 1 or 2 points better. So again, we can kind of see there is a grade, and we're looking at this why your 1-star review. I have an 85 out of 100 grade. You can see these are all of the tags that I have listed. So those are going to be all of the different categories that this blog sort of falls into. And then obviously you've got the specific type of blog that you have. Typically you have categories on your website, and that's where that falls into play. So let's jump in and look at the actual blog post. And so you can see here again, it shows the SEO is an 85. And if you actually go down to the bottom of your blog posting, you'll see kind of the SEO. See here, it says rank math SEO. And this is where you can kind of adjust and change all of these different features and make sure that you can turn it from a red into a green. And so for me, this is the one I have reviews as the focus keyword. Now that's important because that's something that is going to be used throughout this process. And you want to make sure that that keyword shows up in everything else that you're kind of loading up. And so when we look at like the snippet, this is where this brings out the SEO title. And you can see here, I have reviews listed within the SEO title. I also have it in the permalink, or you'll hear us call it the slug, the URL. Like those are all the same terms. It's essentially whatever comes after the .com. And you can see the keyword is listed there as well. And then you have the description or the meta description. And again, reviews is listed a couple times within that. And that's super important because if you don't have that keyword showing up within all three of these, you'll notice that it'll kind of show up and it won't be one of the check marks that's listed here. So the other thing to think about with these is you can see, if I can highlight it, each of these has essentially like a character limit. And so if you try to create something or write something that's too long, when I share this blog post to somebody or when it shows up in your Google search, it's not going to show the full sentence or the phrase or the meta description that you have there or the title. It'll get cut off. And that's essentially bad for Google. It doesn't like when it has to kind of cut things off and truncate your title or your meta description because it wants to be able to show the entire thing. And then that way it's actually gives people a better idea of exactly what this article or what this page is talking about. And so you can see here, it has a limit of 60 in the title, 75 for the URL or the attached kind of slug that's on the end, and 160 characters for the meta description. And again, that makes this all kind of fit into Google space when it's slotting you into the search results. So you can see here, I do have an error, but it's very limited to what that is. As you can see here, focus keywords found in the subheading. It's found in the image, which again, this over here, when it's showing, a lot of times it'll ask you to make sure that you have an image on your page, on the posts. And that's super important because when you go in, make sure that if it comes up here, the alt text has your keyword listed there. That is very important as well. So that way, when someone is searching in the images, it knows, hey, reviews, it's going to kind of place that. If somebody is searching, I have a question about reviews, it's going to pull from that alt text and kind of supplement it into those images. So understanding all of these little pieces as far as that, making sure that you're checking all of these when you're going in. And if you don't have a rank math or a Yoast that's making it super easy to see, hey, there's a green check mark, you've taken care of that, move on to the next. You can come back to this video and see these are the things showing here on the screen that are super important. The ones that get kind of confusing and hard to do is going to be like your keyword density. And so that's essentially how many times your keyword shows up. And so with mine, I have reviews and it says it shows up 13 times and it's actually letting that be okay. When I could have 1-star reviews and see how many times that comes up. If I add that, you can see there it's yellow. It's not as prevalent as the regular reviews. And so that's something to think about as well. And I believe with rank math, you can add on multiple keywords, but then obviously that's going to increase the amount of times that those keywords show up, which then might make your keyword density too high. So that's just something to consider when you're doing that. I'm going to take it off just because I like the way that this one is shaped and the way that it's ranked, I should say. And so as you go down, some other things to consider: you're linking to an external resource. And so this is where having internal and external links is super important, whether it's on your page or within your blog post. And so I made a comment about that when we scrolled by, and sometimes it's hard to kind of find where you want to place these. It works really well if you're selling a product, or especially for a lot of window tinners, put the brand of window film and then have a backlink to, whether it's Lumar, Expel, 3M, have a link to their automotive page, to their flat glass page. And you don't have to highlight any more than just the words. So with Google, I just linked it to google.com because we're talking about Google reviews. The other thing to consider, and we typically always put like a call to action, or you can see here, the send us a message. And this is where you can do an internal link. And typically anytime that you're posting a blog, you're going to want to have an internal link to your contact page, or it can be to one of your service pages. Just as long as you make sure that you have a link that's connected to a page that's already existing on your current site. That is super important. So having those two things, having the image kind of embedded with the keyword, making sure the snippet has all of the keywords listed, or the keyword listed in each one of those, is going to make sure that that's super important. And like I mentioned, this is where it gets kind of tricky, because a lot of times it wants the SEO title to have a number, a power word, a positive word, and have the keyword at the beginning of the SEO title. So trying to juggle all of those things can be confusing. This is where it's helpful for us, and I'm not sure if we have enough credits, but we use this fix with AI. And so typically I will click on this. It'll give me 5 reasons a 1-star review are your best. But you can see here, this went red because it used too many characters and it pushed it over. So that might bring me down. And so it's just one of those things where you can switch that and use it, but typically it's going to uncheck a few things. If I was to do that, it's going to make the SEO title too long. Like it's going to have too many characters. You can regenerate. Let's see, 7 ways to make a marketing tool. So it looked like it actually used the last one. We're going to hit reject and we'll just leave it. Approve and see what happens here, if this changes anything else on here. No, I'm still an 85. And so we're back to the beginning as far as what I had originally, which is what I wanted. But that's something to think about, because you can see that this is now under 60 characters. When it did the 5 reasons why, it pushed it to 63, which wasn't what the tool was showing me that I should do. So that is a lot of the extra things that you can add on. I know there is some other things that we can get in the future with schema. That's something where you can kind of make it understand that this is a specific article. There is a video in it, and it just kind of helps. Ours kind of automatically does this already. So that's something to think about, as well as linking it to social and doing different things like that within this. So I just kind of wanted to jump on here and hopefully have a better explanation for people as far as what SEO is. And so here on the side too, let me jump back for a second. This is where, when I was showing you the different categories, we have a bunch of different categories for the different blog articles that we're doing, as well as the tags that you're going to add on to the actual categories, or the kind of, like I said, the topics that the blog is covering. All of those are important because those are all going to help when someone is searching for whether it's negative reviews, customer trust, customer service. It's going to kind of, Google now knows that this blog is about these topics that I have listed. And as well as it will then go in and see, oh, this is actually a pretty well written piece. It talks about a lot of these different parts that people might be searching for, whether it's on reviews, because that is the keyword. And so that's just something to make sure that you're thinking about when someone has created these different blog posts, whether it's for your page. For us, all of our customers, we make sure that we're hitting all of those topics. We make sure the readability, that it's in the right tone, that it makes sense. And so those things are super important as far as Google understanding what is it putting in front of the people that are searching its other clients. Because again, we've talked about this before, where the Google wants to make sure that it is giving the searcher the best possible information, because it wants them to stay on their platform for as long as possible. The last thing that it wants to do is give someone some poor information, and then it goes to a website and they leave because it has a high bounce rate, because it didn't actually fulfill what that person was looking for. So I guess that is kind of the big thing to keep considering as far as when you're thinking about the SEO. So I will full circle this with today's high traffic idea. I think making sure that every page that you have listed on your website has been fully SEO'd to this extent, to making sure you're using one of the SEO plugins, whether it's Yoast, whether it's Rank Math, whether it's Google Sidekick, making sure that you're utilizing those tools to make sure that every single page that you have on your website is essentially showing Google the proper SEO features that it's looking for. I've talked to a lot of customers where they're building out a bunch of city pages, city and service pages for a lot of the things that they're offering. The only thing is, a lot of times, if you're duplicating all of those pages and putting up the exact same thing and only switching maybe the listing or the location, you're going to have a whole bunch of yellow or red pages as far as the SEO goes. You're not going in there and tweaking each one of those pages to the specific service, to the specific city, and making sure that all of those things are listed within the keyword, the SEO title, the meta description, and in the slug. I think a lot of times people can get duped as far as thinking that a marketing company is going to come in, create a bunch of different pages, and all of a sudden, boom, they're number one. And anytime that someone's guaranteeing them that they're going to be number one as far as their rankings, that is something I would be cautionary of. The other thing that I got an email recently from one of my customers was from another marketing agency that they're currently working with, who is kind of created a separate website and is posting blogs about their content and then directing them to their website. This is something I would try to avoid as well, because one, they're not posting those blogs on your website. They are gaining the SEO. They are gaining the visitors to that website when searching. And then it only has a back end link, like we showed you, like a contact link to the customer that they were working for, where they're collecting all of the actual traffic. And anybody that's actually reading, and granted it was a very short piece, and that's the other thing to consider. I'll give you a high traffic idea. If you're creating a blog, make sure that it's at least 650 words, if not more. Because anytime that it's below that, that shows that it's very light content. Google does not like light content. It wants to have someone that's going to be fully informed, that you've actually put the time in to make sure that all of the services are listed, or whatever you're speaking on has been fully talked about. You're not just trying to game the system as far as just having a page with a few words and then boom, yeah, we've got you a page. We've got you talking about your service. Yet it is so slim and doesn't have kind of any content whatsoever on it that would actually be informative to the person searching for it. And then again, they're going to leave and Google's not going to like that, and your website will punish or will suffer from it. So again, make sure that if anybody is posting blogs for you, they're posting them on your website. And make sure that if there is any blogs, that it's at least 700 words, if not more. Google really likes the 900 to 1200 range. The only thing is sometimes you can do too much, but if it's one of those where you need to highly inform your customers or anybody that's visiting the site, that also is important to make sure that it's not just redundant and you're kind of repeating the same thing over and over again in order to just fill up that space. So I hope that that made sense. I hope that that was helpful. Again, it is Friday. I hope that you're almost done with your week if you're in the office. I know for a lot of our customers, you still have tomorrow. You'll be okay and get to the work that's hopefully coming into you on the weekend. But again, SEO is very complicated. I hope that this gives you at least a little bit more knowledge as far as throwing out the word SEO when you have a few different things. Again, it's my job to hopefully educate our customers, and hopefully you're watching this because to me, an educated customer is much more informed and can make better decisions. And also just it makes my job easier in the sales process, or for anybody that's doing sales. A more informed customer is a much better customer. They know what they're looking for. They're ready to buy. You don't have to sell them. So again, we appreciate you guys listening and watching. If you do have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I want to be able to help out any kind of SEO, marketing, website development kind of questions that you might have, social media management. We are here to answer any of your questions. We want to be able to help you fully understand everything that's coming, because every week there's some sort of new AI thing. I didn't even get in the seed dance and all the stuff that's coming out as far as video content goes. But if you do have questions, please reach out. If you haven't already, I do have my AI software guide that I can send to you. But yes, enough with my rambling. Get to the weekend. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And again, from the Gale Force Studios, I'm Ronnie West of iMagnet. Until next time.